Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. I'm your host, Chris Angel. That's right. Good time. You know me. And if you know me, you know I like to talk about marketing beyond just the way we normally think about marketing, right? Like for me, marketing where I get to actually have a conversation of the soul, right? Marketing for me is about the soul. Each one of us has important work to do as a soul. And as a soul in business, we get to kind of spread that message of our soul through our marketing. So let's talk for a moment about the breakdown that the world is having. I just read an article about it was, I think, Sting, you know, the singer Sting from The Police, shared it on Facebook. It was an article from one of the leaders of the tribes in the Amazon, where the Amazon rainforest is burning. It's like 80% of the forest is on fire or something crazy. And not to mention political events and just all the things that are happening in politics. Not to mention, not to mention like everything, right? Like you can just feel it. There's like this tension rising. And in that, there's a lot of people who are fearful, right? I get it, totally get it. Especially if I lived in the Amazon, like I would be fearful. But my point is, like, there's a lot of, I guess what I want to say is, it's like people are feeling like the sky is falling. And what I am noticing collectively is that when there is a breakdown, there is a breakthrough. Like individually, when we start to have these breakdowns, when we start to bump up against the things that aren't working in our life, we start to get serious about creating change. Right? If your body is failing you, you start to get serious about creating change. When everything is fine, you just kind of coast. It's not as big a deal. Also, let's take it out from the individual. Now, if like your neighborhood or your community is burning to the ground, or you're having a problem, there's a breakdown in the community, you'll notice that people start to rise up to create change. At a level of the country, right? You'll notice that there are a ton of people running for president in this upcoming election year, right? It's because people are noticing a breakdown and people are rushing to create something different, right? So it's always in the breakdown that we get the breakthrough. Now, if we go to a global community, you can start to see all the different ways that people are starting to, where you can just point to different breakdowns that are happening. And as much as that sucks in the moment of it, right? The silver lining is, right? And what we've wanted for a while, if we're honest, is we've wanted change. We've wanted things to be different. Sometimes it takes the problem, it takes the cause of the problem to agitate and fester in order for it to take us into a bigger breakdown so that there is a breakthrough. And I would guess that the more energy needed for a breakthrough, the bigger the breakdown would have to be, right? So if you really want to have some type of a global reinvention, a new economy, a new ecosystem, a new environment, a new climate, it's cause and effect, right? So an equal or greater reaction. We're going to have, if we want a big breakthrough into something radically different than what we've been on, we're going to have a radical breakdown in order to have the radical breakthrough, right? So this post is really a two-part post, right? The first part is just commentary on how we begin to think about what's happening in the breakdowns that we see collectively as a species on this planet, right? There is a collective breakdown. Hello, Molly. There's a collective breakdown globally in many areas, whether it's climate or politics or whatever it is for you, right? For us. And the first part of this video is really just a commentary on that. that how we embrace this moment, we don't have to run in fear of everything that's happening around us. We can actually look at everything around us as part of what we've asked for. If what we've wanted is a big breakthrough, then we also need to take responsibility for and embrace what's about to come, which is the big breakdown. So that's the first part. And if you could orient yourself to that truth, then you could position yourself to be a part of the solution rather than sitting back in the bleachers feeling like life is happening to you and the world is falling, the sky is falling, and you can't do anything about it. You could actually realize that this is the culminating to a breakthrough. And you could actually position yourself to do something about it, which brings me to the second part then of this post, which is you as a business person. I believe that business people are going to be a catalyst in the change that we want to see. Why? Because we as business people have an invested interest in broadcasting a message. We have a vested interest in spreading a message to the world, partly in response to when we share a message, business comes back to us, right? Versus other people who aren't in business don't have as much incentive to get on Facebook or start a podcast or do whatever other kinds of things they do to share a message with the world. So businesses are positioned in this breakdown to instrumentally and exponentially create a breakthrough because we're incentivized to broadcast a message. Now, that being said, now you have to start to shift how you think about marketing in order to play a part in this reinvention of the world, right? Whether it's a reinvention of climate, a reinvention of families, a reinvention of politics, a reinvention of whatever you see as a breakdown. You, in your chair, sitting where you are right now, you already see a part of the breakdown. There's a collective breakdown happening, and inside of that collective breakdown, there are individual breakdowns or niche breakdowns happening. And they all add up to this big sum of a cosmic and collective breakdown, which gets to turn into what? Our collective breakthrough. So you get to reorient yourself to marketing, not as a thing that is about selling your product or service. Your marketing is actually a conversation you're leading in the world for change. You see something that's broken, you see something that's possible, and this becomes the conversation you lead in the world. Now, as you lead that conversation, you will begin to find your tribe. Or moreover, more accurately, your tribe will find you. And as you find your tribe, you begin to create the collective resource called energy and time to actually shift the problem that you see in the world. First, you get to shift it with yourself in getting clear about the conversation you want to lead. Then you get to shift it with the people who hire you to help them with that breakdown. Then you as a group get to collectively shift that in the community or the world, depending on how big that conversation is. But be clear that your marketing is if you structure it this way, your marketing is actually at the cause of transforming something that's broken in the world. If your marketing is just about selling a product or a service, and you miss how that's connected to solving a bigger problem, then you'll miss the transformation, right? Then you might sell a product or a service, but you won't actually take it to the next level of having it actually change the world, right? So Molly is an amazing human being who often follows the show. She's on right now, and she said she is brilliant in math, and what Molly is it? I think Molly's sort of tagline is or name is like the math rebel, right? So Molly says on here, our approach to math is broken. So Molly could go out into the world and basically market her services as like, hey, I can help you get better scores on math. And that would be, she could sell some products, right? Some services to help people get better in math. But if you start to connect out how that breaks down in the bigger scheme of the problems of the world, right? Now you can actually see how math is connected to a bigger conversation or a bigger breakdown, and would actually result in a bigger breakthrough for humanity, right? Yeah, so Molly says, like, math, there's math shame, right? How many of us had shame around math? Like, we think we're stupid, we think we can't figure it out. And because of that, what happens is we go into our lives in politics, in marriages, in parenting, and we perpetuate the cycle of not good enough. I wasn't good enough, and so you're not good enough. I'm stupid, and so you're stupid. And we have all of these different things that then affect these systems of our world, right? We have corrupt politics. Listen, is it a far stretch to think that corrupt politics could come from somebody who failed at math and felt like they weren't good enough in life because they weren't good in math? Yeah, I think you totally could connect those dots. But that's the point. Do you see? Like, when you shift your mindset about marketing, that marketing isn't about selling your services. Marketing is about seeing the breakdown that you see, connected to the way that you could help transform that breakdown into a breakthrough for people, and then extrapolating that out into the ripple effects, or the groundswell, if you will, into the world of what change happens when this problem I see gets fixed. And how do you fix it? You fix it by people hiring you to help them and support them. But marketing then isn't about, oh, hey, let me help you with some math problems. Marketing is about, let's fix the things that are broken systemically in your life and then in the system as a whole. And let's actually have that conversation, because that's the conversation that will make the biggest change. And if you're a marketer like that, listen, can you get that that's a revolutionary way to think about marketing? Can you start to see that marketing that way would actually begin to shift what happens in the world? Not just from a place of math, if that's your thing, but that it would spill out into relationships and politics and environment, etc. So you, friend, you get to be a part of the change you want to see in the world. How? Through your marketing. Why? Because your marketing is the thing as a business person that gives you incentive to share your message far and wide, because there is incentive for it to come back to you in growing your business. But if your business is heart-centered and geared towards transformation, then you know that as it comes back to you and people hire you, not only do you get compensated for your craft, but you also know that as people work with you, it goes back into the world, it gets recycled back into the world as change, as transformation. That's what's happening here. That's the conversation I want to lead in this world as it relates to marketing. I want to help people create marketing that actually goes out and transforms the world. Why? Because the world is in the middle of a breakdown. And what the greatest news of that, guys, the greatest news of that is that there is an inevitable breakthrough on the other side of this breakdown. The only question is, how fast does that breakthrough happen? And that, my friend, is up to you. The sooner you choose to own a conversation that you want to lead in the world, the sooner the breakthrough happens. The more of us in business that collectively start to share our truth and lead a conversation through our marketing, the faster the breakthrough in the world happens. Thanks for hanging out with me at this episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. If you want to lead a conversation, you want to get clearer about how to lead a conversation, you can get my free course that actually starts you down this entire path of how to do this. You can go to groundswellmethod.com to learn more about it there. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight, and until tomorrow when we go live again for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us, have a great night.